Why does your dog pace back and forth before going to sleep, eat grass, howl at sirens, and perform dozens of other strange behaviors that leave owners completely puzzled? And the biggest question that drives every dog owner crazy: why do dogs insist on sniffing other people's private areas every time they meet? Today, 14 explanations for canine behavior will finally be revealed. First, why does your dog walk in circles before lying down? Your dog has found the perfect spot on the couch, but instead of just settling in, it begins circling 3, 5, or sometimes even 10 times in a row. This is an ancient instinct inherited from their wild ancestors who slept outdoors with no shelter. Circling flattened, tall grass created a warm, protected sleeping nest and shielded them from the wind. The circular movement also scared away snakes, scorpions, insects, and small rodents hiding in the vegetation. The dog was checking its territory for danger before allowing itself to sleep when it would be most vulnerable. The circling also helped them determine the wind direction so they could lie down with their nose facing any potential threat and detect predators early. The couch at home is perfectly safe, of course, but thousands of years of evolution can't be erased by a few generations of living with humans. A dog's brain still runs the old safety program every time it prepares to sleep. The number of circles usually depends on how tired or anxious they are at that moment. Second, why do dogs eat grass and then vomit? Owners often panic when they see their dog chewing grass like a small grazing animal. Veterinarians once believed this was a sign of stomach trouble, but modern studies show something completely different. Only 25% of dogs vomit after eating grass. For most, it's a normal instinctive feeding behavior inherited from wild canines. In the wild, they consumed entire prey, including the stomach of herbivores, which is rich in plant fiber and trace minerals. Modern dogs instinctively compensate for the lack of raw fiber in their dry diets. Grass also contains folic acid, essential for healthy blood formation. Some dogs purposely eat grass to induce vomiting. When they have stomach discomfort, they choose tougher, wider blades that irritate the stomach lining. But most simply enjoy the taste of fresh grass, especially tender spring shoots after the thaw. The only danger comes when the grass has been treated with pesticides or fertilizer. Third, why do dogs bury bones and toys? You hand your dog a delicious bone. It sniffs it eagerly, then immediately trots off to bury it in the corner of the yard instead of eating it. It seems ridiculous. Why hide food when the bowl is always full and hunger isn't a threat? This behavior is called caching, and it's rooted in times when food arrived unpredictably. Wolves and wild canids never knew when the next successful hunt would happen, so they buried leftovers to keep them safe during periods of scarcity. Burying meat underground slowed decomposition, preserved freshness, and hid the smell from scavengers and rival predators. Modern dogs no longer need to store food, but the instinct remains coded in their genetics. A 2017 behavioral study from the University of Florida showed that even well-fed domestic dogs displayed caching behavior when presented with high-value items, proving the instinct activates automatically rather than out of hunger. Interestingly, dogs often forget where they bury their treasures. Their spatial memory for hidden objects is far weaker than a squirrel's. Certain breeds are especially prone to caching, like terriers and hounds, which were historically bred to pursue animals into burrows. Apartment dogs often mimic this behavior by trying to bury treats under sofa cushions or beneath pillows, an indoor version of the same ancient routine. And speaking of spinning instincts that linger from the past, that brings us to another behavior just as puzzling. Fourth, why do dogs chase their own tails? A puppy notices something moving behind them, spins and twirls like a little tornado, trying to catch its own tail, much to the amusement of the owner. It looks funny, but the causes are varied and sometimes not harmless. For puppies, it's perfectly normal play behavior and a way to explore their bodies. They simply don't yet understand the tail is attached to them. But adult dogs might chase their tail out of boredom, especially when they lack physical and mental stimulation. Some dogs also do it for attention. Owners laugh record videos, reward the behavior, and unintentionally reinforce it. However, frequent tail chasing in adults can signal something more serious. A 2012 study published in Applied Animal Behavior Science found that compulsive tail chasing can resemble human OCD, often linked to anxiety, stress, or genetic predisposition, particularly in bull terriers. Dogs may also chase their tail due to fleas, allergies, itchy or infected anal glands, neurological issues. If the behavior becomes obsessive or occurs daily, a veterinary checkup is necessary to rule out medical causes. And speaking of sounds and reactions that stir ancient instincts. Fifth, why does your dog howl when it hears a siren? An ambulance or fire truck passes by, and your dog instantly lifts its head and howls loudly, following the siren's rising and falling pitch across the neighborhood. Owners joke that their dog has no musical talent, but the real reason is ancient. Howling is a long-distance communication method wolves use to send signals across distances up to 6 miles 10 kilometers. Emergency sirens share similar frequencies with wolf howls, especially in the 450–750 Hz range. A 2020 acoustic analysis published in the Journal of Veterinary Behavior confirmed that the frequency of standard ambulance sirens overlaps heavily with the natural howling range of wolves and domestic dogs. Your dog interprets the sound as a howl from a distant pack member and instinctively replies. It's not distressed. It's not trying to stop the noise. It's simply saying, "I hear you, here's my location." Some breeds are more vocal than others. Huskies, Malamutes, and Beagles, for instance, retain wolf-like vocal patterns. What's fascinating is that dogs often adjust the pitch of their howl to avoid matching the siren, exactly similar to pack howls, where each wolf chooses a unique pitch to strengthen group harmony. And while some dogs respond to distant sounds, others react strongly to textures and scents much closer to home. Sixth, why do dogs roll on their backs in grass or mud? You've just bathed your dog with fragrant shampoo and conditioner. You take them outside and they immediately find the dirtiest spot possible, flop onto their back, and wriggle around with pure joy written all over their face. For humans, it's a disaster. For dogs, it's an essential instinct. Wild canines use scent masking before hunts, rolling in mud dirt, or even carrion to hide their natural odor so prey wouldn't detect them. The stronger and earthier the smell, the better the disguise. To a dog, artificial fragrances and shampoos are loud, unnatural chemical signals. A 2016 study in chemical senses found that many commercial pet shampoos contain strong scent compounds that dogs perceive as alarmingly foreign, triggering scent masking behavior immediately after grooming. Rolling also satisfies several physical needs. It scratches spots they can't reach with paws or teeth. Cool, damp earth helps regulate body temperature on hot days. The pressure on their back releases tension just like stretching in humans. And emotionally rolling is often a sign of intense positive arousal, excitement, freedom, or happiness during a walk. It's the canine equivalent of humans jumping for joy or dancing when they feel euphoric. And speaking of behaviors that seem strange to humans but completely natural to dogs. Seventh, why do dogs sniff each other's butts when they meet? Two dogs meet on a walk, and the very first thing they do is shove their nose under each other's tail, regardless of how embarrassed their owners look. To humans, it's awkward. To dogs, it's both a handshake and an exchange of business cards. This ritual is completely normal. Under the tail are anal glands that secrete a chemical cocktail as unique as a fingerprint. From this scent alone, a dog can determine gender, age, health status, emotional state, reproductive condition, diet, Social rank. It's like reading a detailed biography in 3 seconds with zero misunderstandings. Dogs have a vomeronasal organ, Jacobson's organ that enhances scent-based communication. A landmark study from the University of Colorado found that dogs' ability to process pheromones in this organ is 50 times more sensitive than humans' hormonal detection capabilities. In most encounters, the dominant dog sniffs first, while the subordinate waits for permission. Allowing another dog to sniff without resistance signals trust and openness. Avoiding being sniffed can indicate fear, insecurity, or even aggressive intent. And from nose-based greetings, we move to another mouth-based behavior that owners experience daily. 8th, why does your dog lick your face so enthusiastically? You come home after work and your dog rushes toward you, licking your face with intense devotion, its tongue reaching your mouth-nose, even your nostrils, no matter how much you try to dodge it. It's not only an expression of love, although love is certainly part of it. Wolf pups lick the mother's muzzle to stimulate the regurgitation of partially digested food. This is how pups were fed after weaning in the wild. The act of licking the face became a deeply rooted habit early in life, a way to seek nourishment, care, and connection. For an adult dog, licking the owner's face is also a submissive gesture, acknowledging the human as the leader of the family pack. A 2014 study published in Behavioral Processes found that dogs showed significantly more facial licking toward individuals they considered socially superior or emotionally important, supporting the dominance affiliation interpretation. Dogs also gather information from your skin, where you've been, who you interacted with, what animals you touched, what you ate, whether you're stressed or calm. Human sweat contains salty traces and biochemical markers that dogs can decode. Research from Queen's University Belfast showed that dogs can detect stress hormones in human breath and sweat with over 90% accuracy, which explains why they lick more intensely when you're anxious. Licking also releases endorphins in the dog's brain, calming them and easing separation stress after you've been away. And while licking is a form of emotional communication, dogs also use body language in surprisingly thoughtful ways. 9th, why does your dog tilt its head when you talk to it? You say something important in a serious tone, and your dog tilts its head to one side, wearing a look that seems to say it's genuinely listening and trying to understand every word. The gesture melts owners' hearts, but there's a practical reason behind it. A dog's muzzle, especially in long-nosed breeds, can block part of its lower field of vision. Tilting the head allows a clearer view of your face, helping the dog read micro-expressions around your eyes, eyebrows, and mouth. Dogs are experts at reading human emotions. A 2021 study in animal cognition demonstrated that dogs process human facial expressions in a way strikingly similar to human infants, using them to understand emotional context. Head tilting also improves sound localization. Changing the angle of their ears helps dogs pinpoint where your voice is coming from. Another study from Eötvös-Loránd University showed that dogs who were gifted word learners tilted their heads significantly more often, suggesting the gesture may reflect deeper auditory processing. And of course, dogs quickly learn that humans adore the gesture. They get rewarded with affection, treats, and praise. The more you respond positively, the more they tilt. And while head tilting charms us during conversations, another behavior often concerns owners when it happens during sleep. 10th, why does your dog whimper and move its legs while sleeping? Your dog is sleeping peacefully when suddenly it begins to whimper. Its legs twitch as if it's running somewhere. Sometimes it even barks softly or growls under its breath. Owners often worry their dog is having a nightmare and feel tempted to wake them. But research has shown that dogs dream in the same way humans do. A classic 2001 MIT study on rats demonstrated that animals replay daily activities during REM sleep and follow-up studies from Harvard confirmed that dogs exhibit nearly identical neural patterns. Their brains move through the same sleep stages, including the rapid eye movement REM phase, where vivid dreams occur. During REM sleep, dogs process events from the day, reinforcing memories, learning from experiences, rehearsing instinctive behaviors. Leg movements usually mean the dog is running in its dream, perhaps chasing the squirrel it saw during its morning walk. Whimpers or soft barks may represent communication or emotional responses inside the dream scenario. It's best not to wake your dog during this stage. A dog startled out of REM sleep may snap, involuntarily confused about where it is or what is happening, just like a human suddenly awakened from a deep dream. Puppies and senior dogs dream more frequently than adult dogs at their physical prime. Neuroscientists even believe dogs dream about their owners, an idea supported by 2015 research from the National Sleep Foundation, which found dogs show heightened REM activity after strong emotional interactions. And just like circling before bed, there is another bedtime behavior rooted in ancient survival instincts. 11th. Why does your dog dig at the floor or couch before lying down? Beyond circling, many dogs scratch vigorously at the bed couch or even the floor before going to sleep, creating loud noises and sometimes scratching surfaces. This is simply another form of the same ancestral behavior, carefully preparing a sleeping area. Wild canines dug into the ground to reach cooler soil during hot weather or to create small depressions that shielded them from winter winds. A 2019 study in mammalian biology observed that wild canids perform digging behaviors before rest over 80% of the time, regardless of climate, proving it is a deeply encoded survival strategy. Scratching also releases scent markers from glands on their paw pads. By digging, dogs mark the area as their territory and signal to potential competitors. During summer, digging may help them find cooler ground to regulate body temperature. Pregnant females dig more intensely as part of a nesting instinct, a behavior so ingrained that even spayed females who will never give birth still display it. However, if digging becomes excessive or destructive, it may indicate anxiety, unspent energy, or insufficient physical activity during the day. And while storms can stop even the bravest dogs in their tracks, the next behavior is one that many owners witness during bad weather. 12th. Why does your dog hide under the bed during thunderstorms? A storm begins outside, and the dog, who is usually fearless, suddenly crawls under the bed or squeezes into the darkest, farthest corner of the house, shaking, panting, and refusing to come out. Up to 30% of dogs suffer from intense thunderstorm anxiety, and the fear worsens with age. The causes overlap and stack on top of each other, creating an overwhelming sensory experience. Dogs' hearing is far sharper than ours. Thunder is not just loud, it is painfully intense. A 2015 study from Penn State University found that dogs detect thunder at frequencies humans cannot hear, which may trigger fear long before we even notice weather changes. But sound isn't the only factor. Dogs sense drops in atmospheric pressure minutes or hours before the storm arrives. Their fur also accumulates static electricity during storms. Research published in Journal of Veterinary Behavior showed that static buildup can cause tiny electrical discharges along the dog's body felt as sharp, uncomfortable tingles. Small enclosed spaces like under the bed help ground this static, providing relief from the prickling sensations. That's why many dogs instinctively seek shelter in places that feel insulated. Interestingly, dogs with thick, long coats suffer more from storm anxiety, likely because their dense fur traps more static charge than short-haired breeds. And while storms can frighten even the bravest dogs, there's another behavior that confuses owners, not because it's fearful, but because it looks like an attempt to please. 13th, why does your dog bring you objects without being asked? You come home exhausted after a long day, and your dog greets you with a slipper in its mouth, tail wagging. Or it brings a ball even though no one asked to play. Or drags its food bowl toward you long before mealtime. This charming behavior has ancient roots. In a wolf pack, younger or lower-ranking members bring pieces of prey to dominant wolves as a sign of respect and loyalty to the pack leader. Your dog is doing something similar, offering a symbolic gift to the person it recognizes as the leader of its family pack. It can also be an invitation to interact. Dogs initiate contact through objects because carrying something in their mouth is instinctive. Certain breeds, especially retrievers and spaniels, were selectively bred for thousands of years to carry game back to hunters. A 2018 genetic study from the University of Edinburgh found that retrieving behaviors are linked to specific gene clusters that remain active in modern breeds even when no hunting is involved. Dogs also learn that bringing objects results in positive emotional reactions from their owners, praise, affection, or attention, reinforcing the behavior. And speaking of sniffing out information, we're now arriving at the most awkward question every dog owner dreads. 14th, why do dogs smell people's private areas? The most uncomfortable moment for any dog owner is when their dog sticks its nose into a guest's crotch, ignoring commands to stop. People blush, apologize, and try to pull the dog away. But to dogs, this is perfectly normal. It's simply the human equivalent of how they greet other dogs. The human groin area contains a high concentration of apocrine sweat glands, which release pheromones and chemical signals. To the canine nose, this is a treasure trove of information. From scent alone, a dog can determine gender, emotional state, stress levels, reproductive hormones, general health, recent diet, and even pregnancy. A 2019 chemical analysis study from Georgia Tech confirmed that apocrine sweat carries unique hormonal markers. Dogs can detect with astonishing accuracy. Dogs show special interest in pregnant women and people with certain medical conditions, including diabetes and some cancers, because their hormones shift noticeably. In fact, medical alert dogs rely on the same ability to detect changes in blood sugar or hidden diseases. For dogs, this behavior is neither rude nor inappropriate. It's simply the most efficient way to gather essential information about a new human. These 14 explanations reveal the fascinating logic behind your dog's strangest behaviors. What seems bizarre, embarrassing, or chaotic to us is often perfectly normal from a canine perspective, shaped by tens of thousands of years of evolution's survival instincts and incredibly sophisticated senses. Modern research continues to confirm what owners often forget: dogs don't act without reason. Every spin, lick, whimper, howl, or sniff is rooted in biology, communication, or emotional expression. So now, we want to hear from you. Which of these behaviors does your dog do most often? Have you noticed something funny, confusing, or surprisingly smart that your dog does at home? Share it in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, make sure to share it with other pet lovers. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss more content, exploring the minds and behaviors of our amazing canine companions. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.